I'm here today at my good friend Brian's house. He's one of my best friends, and he's a gardener, and he lets me come over here and work sometimes, and I always enjoy it. Whenever I'm over here and I'm working in the garden, I always feel just a little bit closer to the Lord. I don't think that's an accident. In Genesis 1 and 2, God creates the heavens and the earth. He takes 6 days and he creates all of what we call creation. In Genesis chapter 2, he makes a point to say that God creates a garden. One of the things that he creates is a special garden. And then he creates man, and the first job that he gives to man is he puts him in the garden and he tells the man, tend to my garden. The oldest profession in the world is not, it's gardening. He puts the man and his wife in the garden to care for it. As they care for it, in my guess, would be that he created this beautiful garden and it wasn't completely and wholly grown, but rather it was fully grown in some areas and other areas it needed to continue to grow and get bigger and before it was going to be harvested. And I think God probably did that to show mankind what it was going to be to make this harvest. That you would have to put this kind of work in and this would be the result. But we know, unfortunately, that mankind sinned and fell short. And the punishment was to be kicked out of the garden that man had been given to take care of. Part of the curse that is put on mankind in chapter 3 of Genesis is that now you're going to have to work in the field and it's not going to produce like it was before. And through your hard work is how you're going to eat. Because in the garden, everything was provided. There wasn't this hard work necessary, but because of the fall, now it was going to be part of his daily life, was to go and tend to his sustenance. And throughout the Bible, we see all the time symbolism, similes, metaphors that are made referencing gardening, farmers, ranchers even, what we would call ranchers, people taking care of livestock. And I think part of that is so many people back then had to live this almost hand-to-mouth daily life where they are constantly trying to make sure they have enough to feed themselves. And I think part of the reason for those similes and metaphors and symbolism is because it could be more easily relatable to those people in those situations because that was their daily life. We don't have that so much today. We have technology, and really the farmers are just not there aren't like family farms anymore. A lot of the farms are being bought up by big corporations and run like that. But they're still gardeners. They're still people that get out and they tend to the creation that they've been given. I think gardeners, they just have a little special little place in God's heart, a little bit different, because people that are out gardening, people that are out taking care of livestock, I think that God sees them as appreciating the creation that He's made. And maybe whether they're not spiritual or not, they still feel this pull. This is God's creation, and maybe they don't recognize God, but this is still, there's something special about it. And being out in it and pulling weeds and planting things. I've been over here many times and we've planted many things and pulled weeds and did any number of kind of things. And I always feel just a little bit closer to God because of it. It's almost like inherently there's something about being in the creation and respecting it and taking care of it that it just answers something in my spirit that nothing else does. And so as I look through creation and I recognize that God has made this with His own hands, Him and Jesus, by the way, chapter 1 of John says that everything was created through Jesus Christ, and nothing that was created without Jesus being involved. So as we're out in creation, we are with things that God made himself. Things that it was spoken into existence by him. And so as we look around, so we have with these people who are living this hand-to-mouth life, who are, growing their own food every day, we see that they have a different relationship with God. They have a greater need for God, because as they're living their life trying to grow crops or tend livestock, what they really need is God's providence. The Bible talks about how, the farmer waits on the early and latter rain for the produce. There's probably not much any other job that you can have where you really are in tune with God's providence than being a farmer or a rancher. Because even if you're not growing your food, if you're a rancher and you have livestock, you still need the pastures to grow green so that you can feed your livestock. In some places you still need the snow to fall that will then be able to produce the water that your livestock is going to need. So the farmer, the rancher, the gardener, the person that takes care of God's creation, I think they're going to be near and dear to God's heart in a just a little bit special of a way. God put us in his creation. He gave us the obligation, but also the blessing. God has said, this is mine, and I want you to take care of it. I remember when my children were little, there was a man that I grew up with that I thought, I still do, I think so highly of him. And I remember I asked him one time, I said, hey, if anything were to happen to me, if anything happens to me and I'm not here anymore, I'm asking you to do everything you can to be a spiritual influence on my children. I want you to be there to help my children spiritually any way you can. And he agreed. In a like fashion, God has said, here is my creation. Take care of it. Why not show God appreciation for what he's done by going out into his creation and helping it to grow, protecting it, saving it where you can? And, keeping an eye on the little ones as well. All right. Dude, I got it, dude. I appreciate you letting me get through it at least. I think so.
Action. I'll leave you alone.
You can sit here if you want. I don't care.
It's gonna make you weird and nervous?
No.
Go ahead then.
All right, let's try that again.